Alrighty, everybody ready? I think we might as well get going here. My name's Judd Halenza again, and we are really excited to be with you today to show you AlphaBOLD's newest add-on solution for NetSuite. It's built here in-house, and it's called BOLDAssembly. BOLDAssembly comprises of two tools specifically designed to help companies in the manufacturing space struggling with NetSuite's limited capabilities for custom production. Ilya, who I'm joined with today, our NetSuite practice manager here at AlphaBOLD, is going to walk us through the business problem, demo the AlphaBOLD BOM generator, talk about the configuration of the application, and demo the AlphaBOLD import tool. Next slide, please. Again, I'm Judd Halenza, and I'm joined by our NetSuite practice manager, Ilya Budimir. We're part of the team here at AlphaBOLD, Southern California's most successful NetSuite practice. On that note, Ilya, why don't you take it away?
Absolutely. So this is the agenda for today. I will be talking about the business problem and the industry challenges. And after that, I will start talking about, I will actually show you the demo of the BOM generator tool. I will then proceed into showing you the configuration records and the setup that we have for a BOM generator. And then I will conclude with the grid import tool that will allow us to bring in a multi-level BOMs very quickly into the system. And then we'll break out for a Q&A session, and then lastly we'll talk about next steps. All right, so relative to industry challenges, what we've noticed after speaking to many of our customers and clients, we've talked to them about their manufacturing challenges, and everybody is talking about competition and demand for unique products. They're all saying that demand for unique products, custom tailored products is greater than ever. And they're saying that that's one of the major differentiators in the market. So what's important in this market today is that in order to meet that demand for custom tailored products is that our design is quick, and we're able to assemble quickly assemble and produce our finished goods so that we can get it out on the market. Okay? In order to do that, we need a good system or a systematic way of automating all these different tasks that were in the past done manually. Okay? And this is why we've actually created this solution. We've noticed that there are a lot of manual processes that make this whole custom product fulfillment very difficult. So we've created a solution that allows you to create a bill of materials or assembly items quickly and design those products and add product specifications very quickly. We can also manage multi-level BOMs. So if you have complicated products with many different components, there's no problem. We can get those into the system very quickly. Right? So if the components are not in NetSuite, if those inventory items are not in NetSuite and you need to get them into the system really quickly, we have a tool that can get them in very easily and very quickly, rapidly. So the way this works is instead of, I wish I had a slide that would show you all these different steps that you need to perform to get your items into the system, going through the CSV import tool interface and all that other stuff. So for the next presentation, I'll probably have that slide in there so I can show you how many steps are involved. But if you look at the sales order, we've made things very simple for you. We've created two buttons essentially that you can click. And these two buttons actually pop up two of our interfaces that we built for you for easy management of this process. So the first button will pop up the BOM generator interface, and the second button will pop up the grid import tool. This is just one way of accessing these interfaces. They can also be accessed as standalone interfaces as well. Okay. So to put things into context, if you look at this diagram, you can see that the orange box is what the process typically works like in the when it comes to production and order fulfillment. Today in NetSuite, if you have a custom sales order that comes in and you need to fulfill that sales order, you would have to have items already in NetSuite pre-configured. So imagine if every time there's a new custom order, you had to go into the system and build your items from scratch every time, configure the accounting preferences and all that other stuff. It takes a long time to do that. So that is why it's challenging to fulfill orders in custom production setting. So the orange boxes represent the current environment. So the native process, sales order, from the item record, you build a work order. We've created the interfaces and there are these boxes in gray that allow you to generate the BOM record, the items, and all of their components. We also have another interface that I showed you earlier, the button for which I showed you earlier, which is import BOM, and that's that grid interface. And they create the assembly item. And they also commit that assembly item which was created automatically to the order. And then you can proceed in fulfilling that order. You can proceed with your production and then the subsequent fulfillment. Okay. Judd, do you have any questions for me, Crazy? You typically have some questions for me around this every time I give this presentation.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit more about the connection between the CAD/PLM tool and how it fits into NetSuite and obviously this BOLDassembly product.
Absolutely. So we're working right now. We have a template. So it's basically a CSV template, and it's essentially an Excel sheet, and it has all of the columns where you specify, let's say, the product number, the SKU ID, the parent of the product. So you can essentially build within your Excel multi-level BOM structure. And then the way we built it, it's really easy, and you're going to see that in the demo. We can just drag that Excel file into the drag and drop interface, and automatically the items will be created in NetSuite for you. So it's very easy. It's a simple drag and drop instead of you having to go through all these different interfaces, contact your accounting department, ask for GL accounts. Everything is pre-configured, so you don't have to worry about these details. So it makes your job much quicker and easier.
Gotcha. Another quick question for you. I know that in your ideal solution, the previous slide, you talked about streamlining production process and speeding up fulfillment. With the slide you're on, the BOLDassembly slide, it looks like this is a much simpler process to create a BOM, a custom BOM, and custom item than what typically you have to go through in that process within NetSuite as it is out of the box.
Absolutely.
I would imagine that this contributes to those orders being much because you've got less people touching the order creation and you need less data entry. Those orders tend to be much more accurate. That is, you don't have fat finger errors.
Yes.
Or people making mistakes and selecting wrong parts, etc.
Exactly. So it eliminates all errors that are resulting from order entry. Absolutely. Especially when it comes to GL accounts, some preferences on item records that usually need to be pre-configured, but a lot of times every time you introduce a new product, you call your admin to import those products into NetSuite, because frequently production managers don't have all the permissions in NetSuite to do those actions. So sometimes the admin may not receive all the information, and sometimes they may not receive all the details, product-related details. So there has to be that back and forth between two departments, and that takes a long time. And frequently, the admins can make mistakes, and that's not their fault. It's it's just that communication and that process that results in these errors. Okay?
Gotcha. And let's say I'm going through to build out like a new product line for the following year, and I want to create a bunch of sub-assemblies that I want to in turn put back into my inventory. Something tells me that this is a really easy thing to do with this product. That is, create a custom order or a custom assembly, turn around, turn that into an item, and then just have that item be, in my inventory. Is that the case?
That is the case, and I'll actually show you that in a second. So stay
okay, I apologize. Why don't you go ahead and let's
Perfect.
keep going.
Yeah. All right, so this is the video that I pre-recorded. I'll walk you through it quickly. All right. So this is my customer record for which I will create a sales order. So this sales order can come in manually. You can create it manually, or it can come in through your e-commerce platform. It's up to you how you want to configure your system. So here on this sales order, I will select my location, and I will click on Generate BOM button. So this is the interface, the custom interface that we built. So what I'll start doing here is I'll start populating my SKU. So this is the SKU name for my custom bicycle that I want to build. So this is my finished product assembly item. And on a header level, I'm populating the basic information, such as unit types, subsidiary location, preferred location, costing method. And let me slow down a little bit here. Let me back up. Okay. So I'm going to populate all of this. All right, so I'll populate that. So now I'm adding lines to this product. So I'm adding the actual components. So I can search them in a system, kind of the same interface that you see in regular NetSuite. So nothing different from regular NetSuite interface. And I'm adding my handlebars, my seat, and I'm selecting the quantity of each component. And I click Done here. And notice on the right side you see the part cost. So while I'm actually building this item, I can actually follow, and I can make sure that I'm always totaling the cost, and I'm seeing how much the product cost what the product cost will be, to ensure that I'm not going over certain limits for this custom production. Okay, so I can always follow that cost. Okay. So the system will always be totaling this. Now I'm going to create a sub-assembly. So it is the frame that I will be generating. So this is the frame assembly. And I will choose the unit type. I will enter the description. So this is a frame with wheels. And I'm going to click on Add Components again, same interface. I'm going to find my information on my items, my components. So first I'm going to put the actual steel frame, and then I'm going to put my wheels. And for the frame, I'm going to put 1 unit, and for the wheels, obviously, two units. Now I'm going to pause here for a second and Going back to Judd's question, this is the actual scenario where you're building a subassembly directly from this interface that you can reuse later, or if you're not going to use it in the future, there's a routine that runs in the background that will actually inactivate this item if it hasn't been used or it hasn't been sold in over set period of time. So you can set that period of time. You can say, if this item wasn't sold in over 36 months, inactivate the item. And that keeps the database light and keeps it all optimized, so that you can search for your items really quickly. Okay?
Hey, Ilya, wanted to ask you a quick question. With the, I just got a question from the chat. What is going on with the code? That is, when NetSuite updates, is that going to have some type of effect on my code or any of my custom code, this product? How does this react? And I'm not trying to shift directions. Just a quick aside.
No, not at all. So the way these solutions are built, or the way the platform works, is any upgrades that you do not affect the code that we build. So the code that we build is a layer on top of the platform, and any of the updates will not affect so the base functionality will not be affected by our code, number one. And also, if there are any changes in a platform, we must update our code to make sure that we're adhering to the platform changes. So if there are any major changes to the platform, we need to adjust our code. But we can make our fixes within our bundle, and then deploy those fixes to all of the accounts that use our bundle, that use our add-on. So it's really quickly. Those updates are painless. So
kind of summarizing here, simplifying the existing production with this product would end up saving a product manager or a production manager a lot of time. That's something that we can take away from this?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
So Judd, I'll continue here.
Sure.
So now I'm adding my subassembly. So I'm going to click on commit. So now I'm committing that subassembly. I'm creating it in the system, and I'm committing it to my bill of materials, bill of materials, sorry. So right here you see the handlebars, you see the seat, and you see the frame subassembly, and you see the total cost. So now I'm going to click Add BOM. So this is actually creating that finished good and adding it to the system. If I close this pop-up, now it added it also to the sales order. So I can continue with the process. I can continue processing the order. Now what I'm going to show you to make sure that you see this, I'm going to show you the actual item that just got created. So this is that custom bicycle that got created. Everything that was in my configuration screen, sorry, everything that was in my BOM generator screen got added. So the components are there. And that's that first video. So let's go to the second video. So in the second video, I will show you the configuration record. So the configuration record is what powers the BOM generator screen. The configuration record has all of the GL accounts pre-configured, locations pre-configured, any other custom elements or custom attributes are also pre-configured as well. And notice at the bottom here, of the header, or that middle section of the header that says maintenance schedule section, this is actually the parameter or the setting that will tell the system how often to inactivate the items that haven't been used over a prolonged period of time. So the configuration record can actually kind of drive that for you. And in addition to that, what we did is I added some additional filtering so that you can have multiple configuration records in a system. So what does that mean? That means that let's say we have multiple subsidiaries in a system, and let's say company ABC needs to have a separate configuration from the company DEF. Then you can actually manage those differences and the settings and the accounts that are populated and other custom attributes through those two different configuration records. In addition, any other segment that you want to use on a transaction can be used for filtering the actual configuration settings. So let's say that we select a specific department on a transaction. We can create a configuration that will be triggered or used only when that department is used on a transaction. Right? So as you can see, this is a very flexible tool. So without further ado, I will press play. So I want to show you where the configuration record is in the navigation. And I will fast forward a little bit here. And this is that maintenance schedule that we talked about. And these are the segments that I talked about. So here I'm selecting the subsidiary class, department location. If you have custom segments, you can add them here. And then you would actually set that as a filtering element, and then you would select the value in the next field, segment value. Now what I'm showing here, let me pause this for a second. What I'm showing here are the custom field mappings. So let's say you look at that BOM generator window, that interface, and you say, Ilya, I need to be able to map to different fields on both my components that are inventory items and also the assembly item. So I need those fields exposed. I don't want to call you every time if I need an additional field exposed on the assembly item. And also I don't want to call the admin every time these things need to be created. So I need the ability to create custom fields or regular fields that I want to populate automatically on my assembly item. So when I say populate automatically, I mean default, okay, or pre-populate. Okay? So that's why we added this element called custom field mapping, where you can define those fields. And then they will appear.
Olivia, I apologize. Ilya, this really helps with that fat finger errors that we talked about before. Pre-population speeds up everything. Can we take that away from this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I'm going to open one of these, and I'm going to show you. So this is that record. I'll pause this for a second. So as you can see, we have a link to the BOM configuration. We have the field label. We have the field type. So all of the field types are included. We can specify a static value that will be hard-coded. So you will see later on a BOM generator window, we can pre-populate a number or text or anything you want. And then in the item mapping list, you can add any custom field ID you want, or regular fields will be in that drop-down, and you can choose them. And you can also make this field mandatory. So when you're on a BOM generator interface, that field must be populated before you can actually submit. You can click on submit on a BOM generator screen. So now we're in our create BOM screen. So let me go back here, kind of zoom through that. All right, let me pause that. All right, so this is a Create BOM screen again, and you can see there's a section now that says Dynamic Fields. And this is where those custom mapping records are actually exposed. So now these fields are exposed on a Create BOM or Generate BOM screen. So these are the 4 fields that we mapped. And for example, I defaulted track landed cost here on this item. Also, and I made these 2 fields mandatory. You can see, you see that asterisk, little asterisk next to the label of the field. So that's how this works, and this is the section where those custom mappings are exposed. So now I'm showing you that mapping, track landed cost. And here you can see this is a checkbox, track landed cost. I put the field service static value true, and I also expose the internal ID of the field. All right. So I'm going to stop this recording, and I'll move to the next one. Any questions from the audience? Jed? So we're good. All right. So demo number 3. Here I will be talking about the grid import tool. That's that last component. So let's get started. So I want to show you.
Ilya, I did get a question about BOM generation.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Could you go back and just kind of review that? I don't know if you can do that. Can you just talk through again how much more efficient this is? It's kind of a weird question, but you know they're basically asking about efficiencies with the BOM creation. Can you talk about how much easier it is to do what we're doing versus how it is out of the box with NetSuite?
So it's difficult to estimate exactly, but based on my experience and my discussions with customers, we've determined that the time savings can be anywhere from from 5 to 30 to 40 minutes per your item. So depending on how many items you have, it could take you 30-40 minutes to build those items in the system. And through BOM generation and grid import tool, it can take you a couple of minutes sometimes, so from 5 to, from 2 to 5 minutes, as opposed to 5 to 30, 40, sometimes even days, because you need to reach out to somebody who needs to, somebody in another department who needs to set up the accounts, and then tell you what accounts you can use on this item. So imagine what kind of delay that causes in the entire chain of production and fulfillment.
Gotcha. I did get another question about security. Does this have security parameters that you can set around this specifically, where you can have certain people access this, but have tell me about the security. I guess that's the question here.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. So security is really permissions controlled. So there are different ways to manage permissions. We have roles that we've created. We're still working on those roles. We're tweaking the permissions, but you have different roles. So you can have roles where users can see the fields on the configuration record and not necessarily be able to change them. You can have a role where you can change the configuration record. Okay? So we have those roles. What we need to do is we need to maybe provide a tool that will allow you maybe to restrict those permissions.
Gotcha.
But the administrator can actually go and tweak those roles and give permission, because these are all custom records, and you can tweak based on a role. You can tweak what a person can see. So it's just standard NetSuite permissions when it comes to security.
Gotcha. Thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at all. No, it's fine. Right, so now I'm focusing on track landed costs and catalog fields. And I want to show you, so these are the fields that I've exposed, and now they're in the system, and I've exposed them from the BOM generation perspective. And I'll open my catalog, custom mapping, and this is a custom field on my assembly item. And I have a static value in there, 8, and this is a list. That's why it's an internal ID. So now we'll go to the customer. So I like accessing customers through their dashboard, and I'm going to create a sales order. So this is a sales order, and I'm going to click on Import BOM. There's an error, and this is because you need to enter a location before you can proceed. This is one required parameter. And I have to select the location, and now I can click on BOM. And this is now the BOM interface, that drag and drop interface that I talked about. Right? So I'm going to position it here. And now I'm going to drag my Excel file, which is a very simple CSV file. It's a simple bike. And I'm going to pause this for a second here. Now notice what happens here. There are certain lines, there's certain rows that are in green, and then there's certain rows here that are in white. And the rows that are in white are not in the system. So this means that we're building the assembly, which is AB4468, and we're building a component that's not currently in the system, and that's that wheel, AB4468 as well. Okay? And then all of the other components are already in the system, so we're using them. So NetSuite recognizes that, and that's why these rows are green. All right, so we have these two fields that I talked about. I included them in my CSV, and now they're mapped, and I can populate them when I load this information into the system. And you can notice that the columns with NetSuite IDs were empty when the items were not in the system, and they were populating when the items are in the system. So now I'm hitting import button. And it's going to take a little bit of time, and then the items will be imported into a system. So there you go. So it's quick when you already have items in a system. So it's really, really big, really quick. So now I'm going to show you that what happens on the sales order side. So it's right there on the sales order, and I can open this item, and we can review it together. So that's the item that just got created. And look at that, track landed cost is there, and the catalog is populated. So these custom fields that I've added and those custom mappings that I talked about earlier got mapped properly. And there's my last component. You see that wheel is there. All right. So now I'm going to go back to that sales order. And I'm going to go to the import BOM screen. So now we'll import a multi-level BOM. Okay. So it's a big file. So you can see how many components there are. There's probably 4 levels of components in there. And none of them are in the system. Okay. So just imagine how long people that have done this, imagine how long it would take you to import all of the inventory items and then put them onto an assembly, and it just takes a long time. So now I'm going to import this. It's going to take a little bit of time, So I'm going to move this recording slightly. I'm going to forward it. Okay, so now the everything was imported and added to the sales order. So I'm closing this, and now notice this is my assembly. And if I open it up here, you will see all the components, sub-assemblies, and inventory items that were listed in that multi-level BOM CSV file.
Hey, real quick, Ilya, I just got a question from Dan via chat. Can you talk about how many levels of sub-assemblies you can have?
You know what? As many as needed. We haven't, to be honest. We've tested with over 200 lines. We've tested with over 200 lines. We haven't gone into thousands yet, but I can. You know what? I can table this question and maybe get some responses to Dan. He can also provide me with other specifications and other detail, because you know, if the BOMs are really big, you can also always split it. But I can give him exact numbers maybe after the call, because I'm not 100% sure of how many we can do, what the capacity is. But it would be nice to.
But it does, just in general, I mean, it does handle multi-level. You know, there's no issue with, you know, having this be 5, 6, 7 lines deep of sub-assembly of sub-assembly of sub-assembly. The other question is
just I don't know what the line limit is yet. I think it's around 200 now, 200, 300, but I have to confirm that with him.
Gotcha. And you can utilize this to create a product that might not exist in the inventory. You can use this to create it very quickly, like, you know, one-off product or a customization to a product.
Yeah, there are many use cases. Some of them we kind of have to test through with the client. So yeah, we can definitely arrange those sessions and do some testing with them. Discover.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, so let's proceed. So now I'm showing you the components that got created. I'll pause this for a second. So these are all the items that were in that list. And these are the components. Some of them are sub-assemblies, some of them are inventory items. I will open some of them here, but I won't go too deep into, I won't stay too long on these items. So this is one of the inventory items that got added. So they're all here. All right, so I'll fast forward a little bit.
Ilya, obviously, I just want to confirm with you, but I just got a question via chat. When you create something like this, there is a record of who created it and when it was created?
Absolutely. And that's out-of-the-box functionality. It's something that's native to NetSuite on all records, and it's tracked. Absolutely.
But there's continuity in this also.
And can you define continuity?
That is that the same functionality that you have in NetSuite is also available with this. I can see who created, you know,
Absolutely.
a custom order for a bike and when it was created, et cetera.
Absolutely. So right now I'm going to show you, so I have that item that I've generated. I'm going to save the order, and I'm going to show you the rest of the process, because we did talk about BOM generation. We talked about how simple it is to create assembly items in NetSuite. But now let's finish the story. So I'm saving my sales order. And I apologize, my demo environment is a little bit slow, and it's also the internet connection sometimes. So it takes a bit of time. All right, so I'm on sales order. This is my item. And I will move to the work order link, and I'm going to click on work order. So imagine we've we created this custom item really quickly from the sales order, and now we're going to actually go into a work order right away from there, and we're going to finish this production. It can be WIP, it can be just a standalone work order. I'm going to save this, and that's it. We have our work order and in a planned status, and we can have our people on the floor start the assembly. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to show you relative to these demos and our functionality that we built. Are there any other questions that you may have and that the audience may have?
Yeah, hey, there's a couple questions here. What's the install period like? You know, how long does it take to install?
It doesn't take long, few minutes, couple of minutes. You just run the bundle. We pre-configured the bundle. It's been tested. It works really well. It adjusts to the environment, so all the settings are either taken from the accounting preferences initially. Once you install the bundle, you still need to go to the configuration record and clean it up, because you may need to set your subsidiaries. If you don't use subsidiaries, you may need to select locations and other things, and then check the accounts. If you want to create multiple configuration records, you need to do that. So that's the only thing that you need to adjust. The rest is all, clean install, and then you just have to go and configure the configurator record.
What does it take to train somebody up on this, or to train a group of individuals on this?
It doesn't take long. So if you've already used NetSuite and you know how to use NetSuite, this will be very, very simple. If you haven't used NetSuite, you need some training on just general manufacturing, line manufacturing and transactions before you can jump into this. So this is for existing users of NetSuite.
Gotcha. Brian Simmons writes, what is the maximum number of, is there a limit on the maximum number of people that can use this within the organization?
No. So it's not license based. If you purchase our licenses for the entire organization, there are no limits. Anybody can use this.
Gotcha. And when NetSuite's updated, does this have to be updated also?
Yes, but that's something that we will do. So these bundles are managed. So we need to, before every update, we test it to make sure everything is working as designed. And if there are any issues, we adjust, we fix those issues, and then we push the updates for our bundles.
Perfect.
So we manage that.
Gotcha. Is there any other questions from the chat? Okay. Well, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. Ilya, thank you for doing this. For our participants, I'm going to reach out probably this afternoon or tomorrow and talk to you to see about setting up a review to see if this is a fit for your organization. So again, if there's no more questions, I want to thank everybody for their time today, and have a great day.